and welcome to India Today. I am Sanjay Ponnappa, and joining me are Maruti Acharya and Janani. The interesting thing about this panel is all of us are from different states. I am from Karnataka, Janani is from Tamil Nadu, and Maruti Acharya is from Hyderabad. And we have gathered here to talk about Pushpa 2. What went right, what went wrong, what were the good things about the film, what were the bad things about the film. We are here to bring multiple perspectives from different states to all of you guys. So, welcome to the panel, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sanjay. So, again,
You.
if you didn't watch the movie yet or whatever, what are you doing? Go book your tickets. It's for theatrical experience. This discussion is after that. So come back and watch it. Don't forget. And Two Boys in the Movie is a regular segment. Now we have Janani also joining us with her inputs.
So, this is my first time here. So, thank you for having me as one of your panelists. So, let's get into discussing Pushpa 2 and what we liked and what we didn't like much.
Yes. So
Okay,
let's start with
since
your experience.
yes,
I, so, I watched a much later show than you guys did. I watched the 9 a.m. show here in Kamala. Theater was full. People were enjoying. And the things that I liked in the movie are those theatrical moments that were built up nicely, and these are moments that are made to entertain people, and that's what it did. Be it the songs, be it the jatra sequence, or the climatic fight, which went on for like 20 minutes. So these are some of the good things that I liked in the movie, and the music also. Initially, that there were discussions, there were multiple people on board, but then it was seamless when we were watching. Even though it was loud, it was seamless and like fit the mood of the film as well.
Spoiler alert. They're trying to not talk any spoilers, but again, we are decoding the movie, so obviously there'll be some spoilers. So if you didn't watch the movie, like I said again, please go watch the movie and then come and tune into this discussion.
yes. So, what did I like about the film? We've already spoken about this in our review, the quick review that is already up on the channel. Uh, what was the best moments in the film for me? Well, the first half had a lot of elevation scenes, and the execution of all these scenes, keeping aside that gravity doesn't matter in this world, all these scenes look beautiful on the screen. It just pitched Allu Arjun's Pushpa to be this invincible character throughout the film. Although he might take one or two shots here and there, it is nothing. It has Teggedela, literally. He will not stop until he gets what he wants. And all these scenes pitched Pushpa in that manner very nicely. A little bit of banter between Pushpa and Banwar Singh Shekhawat, played by Fahad Fazil, also I enjoyed. But then it also had a counter effect where I felt like the whole Fahad Fazil character was becoming diluted because of these scenes. It seemed like he was this big bad tiger in the first part, but by the second part, because of this Tom and Jerry effect, he seemed like a little cat.
First half, I really loved it. I enjoyed. If you watch our review, it is evident that I lost my voice. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. It was beautiful, the first half, and the second half is underwhelming to say the least. And the reason is because the first half, even though the story is not going anywhere, it is classic Sukumar movie where you can see the build-up happening. It is still in the Pushpa realm, which part one was offering, the way the character is behaving, the way proceedings are happening. Again, because this is the second installment and the proceedings, even though they didn't take so much time to show a lot of characters, they were trying to establish the rule of Pushpa, which is the title, Pushpa the Rule. So I was actually enjoying that. And because the interval banger was at so, like, it left me in awe. So I was thinking that now it will take the tonal shift and get into the story and detailings and the whole thing. Now that the rule is established, what is going to happen next? But Sukumar had a whole different plan for the second half. It is about the emotional arcs and something else. And the story is still there. That is my biggest problem with the movie. It is just thin line story with nice mass. Obviously, it is Sukumar. He can execute the scenes in a brilliant way. But the best thing about the movie for me is how, especially in the first half, even though the scenes are very slow, but the drama and intensity, the way he was building was my special highlight, and also Allu Arjun.
Let's get deeper into the conversation, because if we look at the internet, everywhere there is this mixed reaction coming. There is floods of fans who are just raving about the film, calling it blockbuster and all of it, while just as much criticism is also directed towards the film because of all the flaws that it had. Why is this reaction coming? What do you feel about this, Janani?
After watching the film for like three hours and 20 minutes, that's the runtime of the film. You are left with more like more questions than answers, I feel. And in hindsight, like after thinking about the film, after processing what you have watched, and after all these nice elevation sequences that established Pushparaj's rule in Tirupati, like you are left with the feeling that there is something still missing. Like all those unresolved conflicts in the first part are still unresolved, except for the family angle. Even the cliffhanger, the climax that it has, felt like they were just cashing in on the pan Indian trend. And then, like, pandering towards Allu Arjun stardom rather than focusing on the story is what I felt.
Maruti Acharya, what do you feel about this?
Yes, so I've been listening to a lot of people who are actually raving about the film, and I had conversations with a couple of them. So the movie, in a way, has successfully done what it has promised with the promotional material. Because if you listen to the way the proceedings were going towards the film, the shooting delays, the conflicts, and the trailer and setup, everything, it is basically that you are going to see Pushparaj in a bigger and grand and in more madness through the entire movie is what they have established, and people who went for that are actually happy. Because if you look at the set pieces starting from the intro of Pushpa, the even though the for me personally the execution of the mission that is in hand, which Fahad Fasil is stopping, even though the execution is not nice, but they have managed to elevate the scene successfully, which is the high that they get in the interval portion. And the beauty, again, I really like the interval portion is because a lot of times, especially in commercial cinema, the stakes are mostly about fighting, like the physical fight or something. But the actual idea of Pushpa is more on the lines of intellectual fight with Banwar Singh Shekhawat. So that one scene where Pushpa is vulnerable for the first time, and the way they built up the scene, that scene actually worked, and the Jatara episode and climax. So all the high moments, which are taking like 2 hours of the duration, is happy. So people are not thinking about the lines which are joining these. But again, the second side of it are mainly expressing their disappointment because of the scenes which are not joining these in a coherent manner.
Well, yeah, from this, it is quite obvious that the mixed reaction is also valid because whatever appreciation the film is getting, the appreciation is validated with all the execution of these brilliant conceptual ideas and scenes. But when you also look at it, all the criticism that the film is receiving is also justified because of a lack of a nicely flowing storyline. The world of Pushparaj is around this red sandalwood, which is
Hmm.
the establishing scene, which is the first scene in the first film itself, where they explain what is happening in that particular syndicate. This whole part being left out, or one thing it just is in the back of my head is that for to smuggle that 2,000 tons of red sandalwood, they also chopped down 2,000 tons of another tree, which isn't as valuable when you look at it financially, but deforestation, wow. But that whole execution is the only thing that is relevant to the core element or the core setting of the film. After that, it's just these cushions and couches falling on every minister's lap. Again, that is another thing that I wanted to ask you guys about the relevance of money and how easily it comes in the film, because money was no matter at all in the film. Even give it 2,000 crores, how much ever, a police station is being bought completely, uh, ministers are being bought.
Hmm.
So, what do you think about this?
So responding to your question, Sanjay, in this film, like which is all about Allu Arjun, for him nothing matters, whether it's money, whether it's power, or whether only thing that matters is his family and how he treats his people, and everything else comes just at the flip of a finger because he has Rao Ramesh with him, and I felt these are the things that could have been done in a more subtle manner instead, and these are the moments that could have actually added more depth to the film instead of just saying that he got the money and he's done this deal and he got the money. That's it. So these are the moments that doesn't register Pushpa psych or how he goes about getting these a lot of money smuggled into his district or something.
The ending note was you talking that you shouldn't put too much brains into this film. Satya, take off from there. What do you think about that?
That is the common understanding that was fed to us over the years about mass commercial cinema. But again, I will say that just with that idea, because it's a commercial cinema, you should let go of logic and all of that. I don't buy that, because there are a lot of films, especially the films that we enjoy or celebrate in that way, works because of the screenplay structure. Okay, so taking first part as example, what happens is that even first part doesn't make any sense. The kind of achievements or the way things are getting done by Pushparaj, they don't add up if you logically think. But the reason why you don't give so much thought into that is because of the way the character is going. Okay, high, okay, low, okay, oh, now this is here. So there is story which is leading you, and the intention of those kind of scenes is to give you high. Build the stakes properly. You will just think about the feeling high and not look at the logics. But that is the main problem with Pushpa 2 is because there are no enough stakes built. So every scene, the demand of the demand of this scene is to beat the other scene. But if the build-up sequences are not adding up the stakes, why is it important that Pushpa should go this way? Why is it that this method that he chose is really the big breaker deal? I feel Pushpa 2 massively suffers with that problem of not having enough stakes. So everything feels over the top, and then you are forced to open your logical side of your brain and think.
And it also feels like all these elevation scenes are stacked one after another instead of actually leading to a story which Satya just explained about building the stakes and then you take on the story. Instead of that, it was just one scene after another where you just clap and watch Pushpa do what he does best.
Let's talk about the relations built, because one thing that I noticed in the film, the first part, is that Pushpa did care about people around him, the way he takes stand for his mother, how he is always there for the people around him. All of this was not the main theme. It was just an underlying theme establishing his character. This is who Pushpa is. But in this film, it seemed like all of that was a little more on the face. Although it is very nice to see, it also seemed like it was getting all the limelight in this film. So would you say that the central theme of this particular sequel is Pushpa's relationships around him, since even Srivali gets a lot of time? The end conflict which is resolved here is his conflict with his family and all of that.
Yes, they've taken that route. And the reason why it feels a little jarring or out of hand in the sense that it doesn't make sense with the Pushpa character. For example, if you take part one, the way they've built Pushpa character is like that. Anything for Pushpa is after Pushpa. It is never this. The only angle like that which really makes sense for me, according to the way Pushpa is shown, is the brother's daughter angle, because the only thing that can break Pushpa is that surname or brother acceptance and all of that. So anything that can lead Pushpa to that direction, he might take that step, which makes it believable. Other than that, it feels like the Pushpa that we have seen in part one is totally different from the Pushpa behavior in part two. And even see, that is also fine. We are not asking the character to behave similarly throughout the entire world. But the point is why? There should be a reasoning or some kind of justification for us to believe that, yeah, this is why he is behaving like this. Any kind of tonal should be backed with a justification or a reasoning. So I feel that was missing, because of which all the angles, even though as scenes they were beautiful, but the reasoning will keep you a little.
So compared to part one and part two, I like how that one thing that stayed constant in Allu Arjun's character is how he fights for himself and for the people who have like followed him, knowing all the risks that are involved in the red handload smuggling. And the part where he talks about equal space was much more there in the second part, which I really liked. It was a good addition to his character, which was more flawed. Like we know Allu Arjun's Pushparaj is a flawed man, but then he also has a reason. He also has another side where he fights for the people, be it his family members or people who are working for him. Those part of it where he is actually for the people shows him the leader that he truly is. But in the larger scheme of things, when you think about it, these come for a very short period of time. So it doesn't actually strike the impact that it could have had if it was done in a more better I mean, if it was done in a better way.
Let's talk a little bit about everything that was missed in the film because, like Janani mentioned in the beginning, there were a lot of questions left unanswered. For example, the opening scene where Allu Arjun enters into the frame is in Japan with all these Japanese uh, mobsters holding katanas and really bad aims with a gun, but one old guy who comes in and just shoots him with a little pistol. But then where does he go from there? What happened to that whole arc? And let's not even get to Fahad Fasil. So all of these things had a lot of impact in the film. What do you guys think? Let's start with Maruti.
Again, a lot of people might, me and Sanjay, we keep discussing about this in this whole because Pushpa 1 became this pan India sensation, and now that all eyes are on Pushpa 2, every small detail is like magnified. If honestly, because I've been following Allu Arjun and Sukumar for a very long time, starting from shooting the climax in the last moment, keeping some crucial scenes to the last moment, and all of that, that has been their VFX work. So the trend is same. So I genuinely feel like, again, I might be totally wrong, but this missing pieces are really starting from Japan, because there's a short and trailer about him having a discussion with somebody about the Hawala note, or the entry on an anchor. So they, for every scene, if you look at the trailer or the previous promotional material, there is more material that was shot. So my guess actually is that they shot some portions. Looking at the final edit, it feels like the major chunk of Allu Arjun elevation portions were given first priority. They've completed shooting all of that portions, because of which the final edit and also the duration of the final edit is also 3 hours 21 minutes. Even though if they wanted to add some things also, it would have been elongated more. So again, I actually feel like the length of peeling song also, considering like there are a lot of portions where the length could have been avoided. You could have kept the scene. I understand the impact, but if you could have reduced the length of it, then maybe it would have added up, because Pushpa 1 is also all about the world. But here it just feels like Pushpa, Pushpa, Pushpa. Too much of Pushpa.
Janani, what do you say? What's your take?
So the first promo that came out was Pushpa, who was gone into hiding. So we did not get that arc at all in the film, and I felt the movie, with the 3 hour 20 minutes long duration, had several sequences that actually don't add value to the story. Those could have been a little like easily cut, and these are all the arcs that could have been had, whether it's Pushpa going into the hiding or the whole Jali Reddy arc, and then even the fight sequences. Like, take for example the Jatra sequence. It was brilliantly shot, but then it it just extended more than it should have been. Like, each of these segments are easily 20 to 30 minutes long. And take for example the pre-climatic sequence. These are just milked to the maximum. So obviously, when as a viewer, when you're watching fight after fight after fight, you obviously feel tired. And then there are more things that are more crucial things about Pushpa's story that are left unattended.
Mainly the film is about all these characters. In the first part, every character is established very nicely, be it Jali Reddy, be it Jakka Reddy, be it Konda Reddy, be it Mangalam Srinu. All these characters were right there with Pushpa. While Pushpa was carrying the anchor forward, they were right there supporting him throughout the film. In this one, it felt like even Fahad Fazil, to that matter, was reduced down to a, like I said, like to a little cat from a tiger. Mangalam Srinu's character was supposed to be this fox who was supposed to do something, but in the second part, it felt like Dakshayani was doing all the heavy lifting or trying to do the heavy lifting while Sunil playing Mangala Srinu was behind her. For some reason, the whole aura of these villains changed in the second part, and they were just sidelined completely to comical characters. I mean, I don't even want to start about the way Fahad Fasil goes out in this film or probably goes out. Again, another ending left unanswered. But then that whole arc was a little frustrating to say the least. It seemed like that was a last minute call that, they had to take to just knit a film together so that there is something to release at the end. Giving a little more weightage to Allu Arjun's stardom, did they actually make this film in a way that it serves to the people of North India a little more than what it actually was when it was rooted in the first part?
I also spoke to a couple of people who watched the early morning show in Mumbai who absolutely loved Pushpa, and they did not care about how we are feeling about the story, whether why it's underwhelming to us. For them, they enjoyed all these mass sequences, these elevation scenes were just enough for them as well. So I also felt with the whole marketing strategy of having the trailer launch in Patna and then promoting the film throughout the India. Uh, since Pushpa's box office success in Hindi was phenomenal, they actually took this call to satisfy the people in the north as well.
I haven't given it a thought until you mentioned it that way. But yeah, the obvious references are definitely there. That seems like a possibility. The character Pushpa itself is like a gold mine, okay? You can connect to mass audience like crazy. The way the character behaves, all of that. It has that connect, okay? So all it takes is one beautiful elevation scene. That's it. So the assignment they have understood properly, whether it's from the start or the last moment editable decision, whether to make it this way, the assignment is serving the purpose. People who are sitting will enjoy. But the thing is, again, one more thing that I wanted to mention here is I feel like after watching, because Allu Arjun poured his heart out, somebody who's been grown, like I've been growing watching Tamil cinemas, Telugu cinema. So I have a very strong feeling that the kind of calls that Allu Arjun has taken for certain scenes in this movie, I don't think anybody has taken. He was very daring with some scenes where, it's unconventional for a mass hero at this level to take some calls on the movie, like, yes, I will do this scene, I will do it this way. So it clearly feels like he surrendered to the vision of Sukumar. And when a hero of that stature who is ready to go to any extent and do anything, and it's visible that he's doing, I actually kind of put the blame on Sukumar, and especially because they've shown it in part one, where they can balance the drama and also elevation scenes. So when Allu Arjun is ready to go to any extent and give any kind of output, he could have been betterly utilized. He gave us heart out instead of going for these commercial gimmicks about let's satisfy them, let's satisfy the story.
Also, let's talk a little bit about the references dropped in the film. What did you guys think? Which other films references did you pick while this was going on? I certainly saw a little bit of Kantara, a little bit of KGF, and a little bit of Salar in it. So, what do you guys think? How much of those things were there, according to you, from your perceptions?
The most obvious reference was Kantara. The whole Jatra sequence, which was brilliantly shot, it was just a burst of colors on screen. And when he goes into the trance mode, and you just can't take your eyes off him. And it also reminds you of Rishabh Shetty from Kantara in the last act as well. So this is Allu Arjun's version of Kantara because he has included the dance elements as well in it. But that was more striking for me in the film. The sequence itself had an arc in it. Like initially, you can feel Allu Arjun's vigor in it, and then there is a sense of calm as well. And then it all culminates into a fight. So for me, that's the absolute favorite of Pushpa.
Yeah, so the obvious references are Kantara for that scene and the lot of brand references that they've taken. I see a lot of Salah references there as well. And good that they didn't emphasize it much. The emphasis was not on that. Imagine if Jatra sequence was just that portion, or the brand aspect of it was just that stamp. It was not. And especially with the brand thing, they've done it so much. Astal Dagyadele, and this was just every 5 minutes somebody is doing that in the movie.
Since we've reached the end of our discussion here, let's talk a little bit about the positives. Let's
Hmm.
talk about your favorite sequence in the film and what made it your favorite.
So for me, growing up in Tamil Nadu, I had no clue about what Jatra festival is or how it's being celebrated in Tirupati and other parts of Andhra Pradesh. So when the teaser released and you see Allu Arjun clad in a sari and you see, I mean, it gives you like goddess Kali vibes and all that. So obviously you go into a bit of research and then You want to know what this is all about. And then obviously there were a lot of instances where the actors and the directors like openly mentioning that this is the highlight of the film. So I was naturally inclined to expecting more from this sequence, and it delivered. One thing, I mean, what was striking more about it was how uninhibited Allu Arjun was in the sequence. Like I've grown up. I did not grow up watching Allu Arjun films like Maruti did, but I also have seen a lot of films that Allu Arjun did, and I've never seen him like this in any other films that he had been a part of. I like that whole sequence, and the other sequence where a little bit of the cat and mouse game between Fahad and Allu Arjun, where they try to steal those 2,000 tons of red sandalwood thing. There was a spark of brilliance there, but then it was later diluted. But then I really like how Allu Arjun outplayed Fahad Fasil, and I was actually keen to see what kind of steps that he would take to like steal those 2010 of red sandalwood. These two were the striking episodes in Pushpa 2 for me.
For me, undoubtedly, my favorite scene is the interval sequence. The whole stretch of that sequence, I feel it's one of the best interval bangs that I've seen. I mean, from Telugu cinema, it's in my top list of interval bangs that I've seen, especially because the way the scene has built up. One, because it's Pushparaj, it's not just for the people in the world, in the auditorium also. You know how important that sorry and the stakes of that sorry are so high. And if you think about it, just one sorry ke liye itna. The way they have built up, and then the whole car sequence was beautifully executed, even though the CG was jarring. Conversation, the dialogue. I feel the best quality of Pushpa 2 is its dialogue. It's like you can see what is running in Pushpa's mind and the way he will turn the car, go back, and the epic reveal is the highlight. It's so good. That's my favorite sequence. And yeah, the obvious one is Jatara sequence.
Well, again, yes, even I really enjoyed the Jatra scene. It was very good, the whole sequence, the ups and downs, and also a little moment of glory for Rashmika Mandanna, Srivali character as well in the film. All of that added a lot to the film and the proceedings until that point, and that I really like. The climax fight, although it is, if seen as a separate concept, it is interesting and it is exciting, but I didn't really enjoy the rehashing of the whole Gangamatali arc in the climax once again. It felt like they just went back to the idea because that is the obvious banger in the film. They just went back to it in the climax instead of coming up with a different concept and something new. For me, the actual high, another thing that I'd like to say, apart from all the sequences that you guys have spoken about, is the Kisik song and the dance over there. A little uh, props to Sri Leela for pulling off that dance sequence. Again, we all know that that was shot at the very last moment, not a lot of time for rehearsals and all of it, which is why it's not that the background dancers are there and shining as well. Same thing can be said about the Peeling song also. So the way Sri Leela picked up all the steps, executed them beautifully, although I'm not talking a lot about the song because for obvious reasons, but then the choreography and the sequence shot over there were really amazing. So a little bit of props to her as well. So these were some of the things that I was very impressed by while watching the film.
If not for Pushpa 1 being whatever the impression that it has created, do you think that has an impact on the experience that you had with Pushpa 2?
Actually do feel that it does have an impact on Pushpa 2 because Pushpa 1 was rich with the story as well and the world that they built. So the expectations of at least some amount of story, at least moving forward, the same story going on since they're taking off from the same spot, at least that going forward and reaching somewhere is there. That is a basic expectation. And I think that is the major flaw or criticism that the film is receiving now. It's not anything else. It is just that the story didn't go anywhere from there. It is still revolving around the same place of Pushpa's rule. And then there is this whole thing that the story will go forward from there in the third part. But again, since this is so highly anticipated, the story should have moved forward. That is why I say that Pushpa 1 is the expectation set by Pushpa 1 is definitely uh, a reason for the drawbacks in Pushpa 2. That I will definitely agree. And I say that, see, Pushpa 2 would have been even more appreciated if it was a standalone story and this was the template, because it is a proper Telugu commercial film. But would it have reached the same level of pan-Indian success without Pushpa 1 is the question. So, since the base is so strong, the foundation is so strong, the building that was being built also should have been just as good as what I say.
I agree with Sanjay actually. He also spoke about the expectations. Like, even by those standards, like keeping the expectations away. As you said, the story doesn't move forward. Probably you know 5% more about Pushpa's life than you watched the film, because none of these conflicts get resolved at all. There are new villains. And the conflicts keeps changing like from one point. So it doesn't move anyways. He just deals with I mean, all of these people, one person at a time. That's all about Pushpa that I can actually think of rather than the story.
The reason why I asked this is because every point that I've been mentioning, what I'm saying is because Pushpa one. So which is the obvious thing that, if Pushpa one was not made, the experience of Pushpa one was not the same, maybe I would have enjoyed Pushpa two a little better, I would say.
Well, on that note, we've reached the end of this discussion. Thank you so much for joining us, Maruti Acharya and Janani. Well, we've spoken a lot about Pushpa 2. The celebrations were covered. The first day, first show audience reaction, the public review is also up on the channel. Our review is also up on the channel, and everything else, all the controversy surrounding whatever happened at Sandhya Theatre in Hyderabad while Allu Arjun was watching the film. All of that is on the channel. So do make sure to subscribe to the channel and check all those videos out as well. The initial numbers of the film is also out. A video on that will also be up on the channel soon. So make sure to check out that as well. With that, with Maruti Acharya and Janani, I am Sanjay Ponappa for India Today.